Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Refined Life Podcast. We are now just Refined AF Podcast. We got rid of the life. You know why? Because we talk about more than just life. We've also talked about death.
Wait, how can you talk about more than life? I mean, like,
we talk about death and taxes and the past and the future.
I feel like all those things have to do with life.
Afterlife.
I feel like Vinny's been stuck on taxes. He's on a tax roll.
Well, let me tell you something. We'll talk about this in another episode. I was going to be talking. we were going to be talking about it with my buddy today, but now he can't be here because we're supposed to have a guest right now, which is why we have this fourth seat over here. And he had to go have his baby. The baby came 2 weeks early, so he had to fly.
He had to have a baby.
Well, no, his wife.
Okay?
How selfish!
If he wants to have a baby, he can have a baby. We've discussed this.
There's an emoji on my phone with a man having a baby, okay, or pregnant at least. I type in the pregnant on emoji, which has only happened a couple times. There's like 5 options. I'm like, huh. Well, I thought there was one option for that. Either way, so here's the deal. I've learned a lot about tax stuff. Everything from like tax credits that you can save on, which I've talked to you about some. Even to just little things that are out there that you don't realize. Everything from grants to different things that you can have. There's money out there for small businesses to have. You just got to be willing to fill out the paperwork. Anyways, that's another episode.
Wait, how many episodes are we going to discuss before we get to the episode?
Well, this leads me right to the episode since we're talking about money. Jared, as we was on the way here, sometimes we get on the phone, we chat a little bit because we don't get to talk a lot because he has like this work thing he has to do every day.
Dude, I called you 5 times a day before I got you.
I had this work thing I had to do today. Anyways, so we finally quit playing phone tag. He caught me and then I called him back. But anyways, and we started talking about the dollar and what is the dollar really worth? You know, now we've talked about obviously time is the greatest currency and things like that. But it's like there's always these levels of like, well, I'm not going to do that for that money. But then there's a price where you're like, okay, well, that makes it worth it. So he brought up an interesting video, and maybe we can get a clip of it to show in one of the reels that we do. But this clip of Adele, and I'll let you kind of take it from there to.
Yeah, so it was this clip of Adele, and she was at some sort of like mother's convention, and the whole idea of this thing was about being a good mother and having a good career at the same time. And she said that it was 11 years ago, and she's like, 11 years ago was like the peak of my career, like when I was just busting on the scene and getting big. And she said, I got pregnant. And immediately everyone acted like this is kind of like the kiss of death. Like you're at the top of your game right now. You only get one shot at this. You can't miss this. And she was like...
That's what Eminem said.
Right. And she was like, it was really a lot of pressure, like from the labels and different people, you know, that had gone there before. And she was like, that's what set up my career and how it was going to be. Because in that moment, I had to make a decision of how much more money do I need? She was like, now, of course, this was in the very beginning. So she didn't know if maybe she would never have another hit because of this. She didn't know if radio was going to spin her. But that was part of it. They said, you know, if you don't stay on top of it now, you won't stay on radio. And she was like, well, I think that I have enough that I could just live a normal life and focus on my kid. So, no. And
good for her.
Power of the word
no.
She backed off, and she basically toured through part of the pregnancy, and then she took off for like the rest of the pregnancy in like a year to just hang out with her baby.
Yeah.
And then after that, she started working on an album. And then after the album was done, she put out the album. And then after that, she toured. And after that, she took off a year again. And so she spaced her albums out so that she was still with her family. And she was like, you know, every time they're like, hey, man, you got lucky this time. Like, we got to stay on top of it. Let's put out another album. Let's put another album. And she was like, no, I'm not going to. It's like there has to be a decision being made. And she's like, because I got to make that in the very beginning, she's like, that set me up for, no, I'm going to keep doing it this way. And the whole idea was, you know, not to be a victim of your circumstances and stuff, which we talk about a lot. Mm-hmm. But like I said, it was at a mother's convention of saying, hey, you can be a good mother and still have a career.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I think it's great that message is being shared. A lot of the conversations that me and my wife have these days, and I'm very thankful to have these conversations because I think that men and women often see this very different and they don't understand each other and where they're coming from on things. And so I feel very fortunate that my wife and I have grown through this and she can see this. in most men, I wouldn't say all, but in most men, I think you automatically, you want to provide. You want to take care of your family. You want to feel like, and most of us honestly want to feel like we can do it without their help. Like there's something in us that we just want to take care of everything.
Yeah, how often as men do we actually ask for help?
Yeah. I mean, and so a lot of the things that we let slide at the house where they think we don't care, it's really because we're pushing ourselves so hard on another side over here that by the time we get home, sometimes we don't have that much to give. And that's not a good balance of things either, But most arguments that I've been in with my wife that have anything to do with finances all really point back to the fact that I'm trying to do something for her. I'm trying to build something for her. So whether it's, hey, you're not here, or, hey, like, I just wish that we had this couch, or I want to go on this vacation. I don't think any woman out there understands the power of their words and how much it
we start
affects
looking for how we can make it happen right now.
Absolutely. If you say something about, I want that couch, my mind doesn't go, we don't need a couch. My mind immediately goes, do we have enough money for that couch? Why don't I have more money? I will beat myself up over so many things. And my wife would have no idea. For her just mentioning, oh, sure would like to go to that restaurant again. My mind doesn't process, well, that restaurant costs $600 and that's ridiculous. Even if I say those words, what really happens inside is, man, I need to make more money so that
how do I get her there?
That restaurant.
Yeah.
So I can, and that's the truth that we put on. I think as men, we have this, sense about us that seems strong or aggressive. We're quick to fight.
That's toxic masculinity you're talking about.
Hey, toxic masculinity saves the end of the day. That's what I know. Like if that's what toxic masculinity is,
You're so toxic.
But we have this. We
Might
have
as well
this
be
in
Britney
us,
Spears.
right? That we want to provide and take care and make sure that no one's going to talk bad to our wife or to fight for the things that we believe in. But the reality is, and I think I'm speaking for you two as well, I'm super fragile. And my wife can say these little bitty things that she'd have no idea, but it'll pierce through me.
But you're only fragile to her. Like if somebody else come up and said something to you, like, "Hey, you're this," you'd be like, "No, I'm not."
I mean,
But if she said something, and she
part.
don't even have to mean it that way, but she can say something like, "Gosh, I really wish we could go to that Bora Bora." My wife wants to go to Bora Bora, so I'm sitting there like, "Okay, here's the prices. Here's what we got to figure out. I'm trying to figure out how to do it."
Right.
We leaving the kids at the house, so
I was fixing to ask.
if we're gonna spend that kind of money, we're going alone, baby. She gonna have to just let them kids go for a little bit.
So, and I know that I went a long way around to circle back to that, but it then goes back to what is that dollar worth? What is your time worth? And I know that Vinny and I have had this discussion a lot here lately, where people, call you up for a show or whatever, and they look at it like, well, it's one show, and this is the level of fame that you're on, so this is how much I'm willing to pay. And it's like, no, man, I got to leave. First of all, I got to practice with the band. I got to make sure these contracts are set up. There's time that I'm spending here, and then I'm getting on a plane or getting in a bus or getting in a van. Then there's a travel there. Then there's the sound check and all the other stuff. But either way, at the end of it, this is 4 days that you're taking me away from my family. So that's a different figure.
Yeah.
And if I'm honest, there's certain times that I've said to people, like, I'll throw out a dollar figure, and you can see like they don't necessarily agree or think that I'm worth that, and I'll go, hey, I might not be worth that, but that's how much it's worth for me to be away from home. That's what I know.
Yeah,
that's what I gotta have.
Yeah, and but I think that's just a constant learning lesson, and I'm filthy today because I came from the job site. And even that, whether it's in music, whether it's in construction, whether it's in having a coffee shop or a resort or being a broker or in real estate, like whatever it is, you've still got to figure out where that balance is. What's my time worth? What's the dollar worth? And is there a level of a dollar that you get to that you go, like Adele, where you go, yeah, I could have more, but I don't have to have more. And so I
even think it's like we talked about this. Actually, the last time I think we were in here filming, I'd gotten a call that night about a show that we were supposed to put on. You weren't here. I think you were sick. I think.
Yeah, he had the strep throat.
Yeah, the strippy.
I think that turned out to be the
vid?
COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, good old vid. Yeah. But I'd gotten this call, and it was this thing that we've done for a couple of years in a row now, and they called back, and then they tried to shoot us lower, but then wanted us to bring an artist that was bigger. And I didn't even have to ask Jerry because I already knew what his answer would be. But I just told him, I said, nah. I said, just forget it. Just, we just won't do it. We just skip it this year, whatever. If the budget has to be at this, even to consider this. And they're like, well, we'll have to talk about it. I'm like, okay, well, there's nothing to talk about. It's either that or we're not doing it, And they called me back about an hour later. Okay, we're good to go,
Yeah.
And so, and it's not me trying to be.
Wonder how many times we screwed ourselves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I
probably could have worked way less hours.
The thing was on this individual show, we play one show, but we go and spend an entire week. Last year it was 9 days. We spent an entire week doing charity events while we're there for free. And then we have one show that kind of makes enough money to basically, I mean, it's not like nowhere near what we'd make if we played 5, 6, 7 shows.
Yeah.
But the one show makes enough that you're like, okay, this can make sense for being gone. Well, this year, me and him talked, and I'm like, listen, I don't want to be gone more than 4 days for what we made last year. And I think we made...
Well, I mean, it wasn't even about the money last year. It was 11 days, and I loved doing all the charity stuff.
9 days of work, 2 days of travel.
11 days away from your family, dude.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much people understand about that, but like 3 days, no big deal. 4 days, but you start getting past like that 5, 6, 7 mark, dude, it changes the family dynamic in a major way.
Oh, you get
all
home.
of a sudden, you're fighting with your wife about all sorts of random things, like just because. It's tough. You can't communicate correctly. You're not on the same time frame.
No intimacy. I mean,
no, and you constantly got other people pulling at you, and then your wife's like, "How come everybody's more important than me?" It's like, because they're in front of me, and I keep trying to walk away, and they keep coming over.
They keep following me everywhere I go. And me and him do a good job of running, shotgun for each other and being like, I'll jump in the middle of, so he can get away and go speak with his wife, or so I can get away and go. Deal with whatever I got to deal with, or, obviously speak with my wife. But we both have other businesses, and those businesses don't stop just because we go and do stuff for charity. And that's been one of the things that, we've always struggled a lot with, trying to make people realize, like, we're not taking money for the charity stuff. We book something with it so that we can make some money so that we can still go do all the charity stuff. A lot of people didn't really realize what our work was worth until we got the videos of us going in there and singing with these veterans and some of the stuff we do, and getting the story of, like, this guy saying, man, I don't remember the last time somebody's come to see me. But like I said, it does take a toll on, you're gone for a while. You get back home, your kids hadn't seen you in 9 days. They're like, Dad's here. Whoa.
They forgot your name.
Yeah. Well, they better not. No, they always remember, Dad, Sissy's chasing me.
Hey, I'm going to change the topic for 1 second, because that trip that you're talking about, and the veteran that we took a picture with, the one that went viral.
Yeah.
My daughter is sitting at the counter with me the other day, and she goes, "Hey, you didn't start a new TikTok account, did you?" And I was like, "No. Why?" And she holds it up. And she's like, "Because this whoever this is, they did a really good job on this one. It legit looks like you started a new account." Huh. And she shows it to me, and the picture of us with that dude is the top picture. On there, and then she shows it to one of my other daughters, and she's like, I totally just started following this person the other day because I thought that you started another account. And I was like, why would you think I would start another account? And she goes,
I don't even work the account I got.
She goes, because of its number. She was like, so the account's only been open like 3 days, and it's already got like 1,700 people following it. I was like, this thing's going to pass me. Like, it's going to pass me using my videos.
You got to call. You're like, listen, we got to have a talk. Can I take over this page?
Sloan,
can I take over my page?
Sloan was like, hey, maybe you should write them back and see like if you can collab with them. Collab with the fake me?
Yeah.
How about I just give you access to my real account and you run it?
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. I'll just send you the videos every month. You run everything. We'll split the profits.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen is they're going to grow that page so big, then they're going to get the blue check mark before you get the blue check mark.
I have the blue check mark.
On TikTok?
Yeah.
They won't give it to me.
It was a TV thing. Like, if I just send in what I've done.
No, but I've done that. I mean, I was on. We were on TV at the same time. I sent in all my stuff. Here's what it said. This is no joke. It said, I sent in my articles. It was People Magazine, ABC, NBC, CBS. They sent back the was it the people that were airing you or whatever, they're not prestigious enough. I'm like, don't get no more prestigious than ABC, NBC, and People Magazine, and CBS.
What are they looking for?
I don't know. And then so we thought maybe it's more modern. So now I'm going to resubmit it now that I was featured in People this past week this past.
Now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure it was a PR team that I'd hired at the time that just went through all my social media stuff.
Yeah.
So they probably just know how to word it differently. Anyway, so back to what we were saying
Get
about
Brad to do that
dollar and time.
Oh, Brad, he's working on it. That's why we had to get these. We had to get updated ones that weren't from 2011 or whatever.
Back to dollar and time. Really, that dollar and how much it's worth, the only thing I balance it out with is, my home life. I don't really think much about what am I worth as a professional. I think much more about I'm going to have to be away from home. What am I missing? How much time am I away from my wife? And if you're taking me away from that life, it needs to be enough money that allows me to do something with them that I wouldn't get to. And that's kind of the way I always think about it. Like, if you're going to take me away for a week, it needs to be more than a week's worth of pay for me because I need to make up time with my family now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. I think that's the FOMO, fear of missing out. That's why it's so dangerous. That's how they attacked Adele. Hey, if you don't do this, then this.
But it's the fear of missing out on that money, right?
Yeah.
But what about the fear of missing out on your family?
That doesn't win for most people because most people want the money.
I can tell you after 6 kids, it works for me because you have missed out on so much and you realize you only get so many chances. I mean, I sent Vinny a message last night about a gig and I was like, bro, that gig that we just booked is on my son's high school graduation. And he was like, well, then you just have to fly home. You have to miss it. And,
there ain't no second thought on that, which he already knew.
No,
that
graduation is graduation.
Yeah.
It's only going to happen once.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Well, 6 times in his case. But once for his.
Nah, I'll catch you next. Oh, it's the last one? Okay. I'll get something.
This is the last one. So, but no, it's. I think it's important to look at those things because, I used to be the guy that was yes to everything. I mean everything.
and why? Right? Because it
partly
itself
fear
if you don't, then this.
Fear of missing out. But I also think I had this thing I just never wanted to let anybody down. And I think in that terms, I ended up letting the people that are closest to me down sometimes, or even letting myself.
That's what we all do.
Or letting myself down, Or you put so much on your plate that you can't actually do any of it,
Yeah.
And so I've gotten way better at that. Jared's been a big help for me on that. Just reminding me do you really have time to do that? I'm like, no, not really. Well, then don't do it, And so, my goal obviously is I want to continue to grow the brand of Big Vinny. I want to continue to do all that, but nothing's more important to me than making sure I get to see my kids grow up. I get to be there for my wife and all that. So I'm strategically make moves now. It's like, okay, if it's not a money thing, is it going to help me get to a spot where I create more wealth? So next week on Monday, we're going in and doing a thing with the Juvenile Delinquents Center here in Nashville with us and Jelly Roll and Jeffrey Steele and several others.
I'm not there. I'm on a cruise.
Oh, I thought you were going to be my riding partner. No. Well, I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
He's on a cruise with his wife.
Remember, I called you about that. I was like, hey, are you going to be able to make it there? Because I definitely think one of them should be there, and I can't be there.
Well, either way, I'm going to be there.
Here's what we just determined. Last time Jen said, I really want to go here.
Yeah.
He figured it out. We
covered this in a podcast. Yeah. This was the Christmas cruise that I booked, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, speaking of, my wife comes home from Bible night the other night at your house. And she goes, oh, my gosh, Jared did the sweetest thing. I'm like, what? Well, for Christmas, he put together this photo album of all the vacations that they had taken over all the years. All the extravagant places they had been, all the awesome cuisines and things they'd eaten. And then as she's flipping pages, she gets to the last page and she opens it up. And she says, and this was in there. And I'm like, I don't know this trip. I don't remember this trip. And it was like all these random pictures. And he was like, And then she opened up the next page, and it was the tickets to the cruise that they're going on that she had been wanting to go on. She goes, "Ain't that the sweetest thing you ever heard?" I'm like, "Damn you, Jared."
And you immediately started saying, "I gotta figure it out."
You know what I said? "We went to Jamaica." She goes, "Yeah, Jared and Jim went to Jamaica too." So now I'm sitting here. I'm like, "All right, well, I gotta go book a cruise." I'm like, "Hey, babe, take you to the Buffalo River Resort." So
We
anyway,
can cruise for 4 hours.
anyway, I don't even remember where I was going with this. What was I talking about before then? Because Jared makes me look like a bad husband. I'm a pretty good husband.
Man, you got to get past the kids. They got easy.
Oh, see, you know what? That's what, babe. We got kids. I mean, you got 6 of them.
That wasn't happening in the beginning. When my kids were your age, that crap wasn't happening.
So how long did the pictures date back?
Since like I think they dated back to the first time we went overseas together. No, I didn't include any military stuff. So it dated back to when we got married. So 2007, somewhere in there.
It's a good run. That's
Yeah. That's a long
That's
time.
during 6 kids. You still making it happen?
I guess so.
No, there's no I guess so.
I mean, they weren't little, though. They weren't little kids.
It started in 2019, okay?
That's what I was
right before COVID, man.
He gave us 16 years ago.
I know. He's like, it wouldn't happen when they were kids. I mean, they were like 4.
No,
my
wait.
kids are 3 and 6.
No, I'm wrong. No, there's 2016.
Now we're talking.
That makes more
now
sense.
we're talking.
I was like, wait a minute, I didn't even meet Jen back then. Yeah, so 2016.
That's better.
You know, it'd
Now
been
we
real
feel
bad
better.
if you put like pictures from a different vacation with a different woman. Remember this vacation we went on? Remember this cruise? She's like, no. You remember it was like 2009. I didn't meet you till 2010. Crap, who did I take on this vacation?
There's nothing worse than hearing that wasn't me.
Remember that time we went and seen that movie together? No. Yeah, you remember. Remember that night we got home? No, that wasn't me. I'm like, oh, yeah. Crap. Anyway, well, it's even just going back to the what is a dollar worth? You look at my wife was working for this company called V-Shred. I don't care we say their names, but she was making good money. I mean, she's making $130,000 a year, 120, 130 pretty prominently. I think one year she hit 140. And she was doing well, but literally from the time she woke up to the time she went back to bed, she was on a computer answering emails, answering because they had voice text messaging with us, a lot of these clients. And so she's answering, messages on there. She's in the middle of giving the kids a bath or reading a book, and bing, 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 the phone's going off, and you're supposed to answer it within a certain amount of time. You got to answer the emails and all this. You got to make new meal plans for people every single month. She had over 300 subscribers that were her directly with the company. And at some point, she finally just said, I gotta be done. I can't, I feel like I've missed, 2 or 3 years of my kid's life. I feel like even though I'm with them every day, I'm constantly focused on the computer.
Yeah.
And so, and for me, like you said, being a man, I'm like, okay, I gotta make enough money that she ain't gotta worry about it, And I've done well. We've all done well, And then of course you got lulls. You got times when the market's up and you're doing well, and time when the market's going down, and you're like, might have to go shovel some shite, to make up for this month.
Local pooper scooper here coming up.
Hey, I have decided this after looking we live in Shelton Square, and I see a lot of people talking in the Shelton Square page. I mean, if you wanted to start a business, you could just start babysitting in your own neighborhood. Babysitters are making $20 to $25 an hour now. You can start babysitting. You could just be like, hey, my wife could literally go in there and be like, I'm available if y'all want to go on a date night. And I think any weekend she could probably get 2 to 3 nights a week.
I think the company is the bigger part that you're talking about there. Because, if you could just be like, well, if they're paying $25, then I'm going to pay people $20 an hour. You could definitely start a company. You just have to manage all these different people for babysitting.
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, too, is if you do it at your own house, just say you get 3 people, 3 kids that are going to come over and, they're going to go on a date night. They drop the kids off there at the house. That's, what, $60 to $75 an hour,
We could start our own YouTube channel, and it'd be a knockoff of Daddy Daycare.
I'm in. I am all in. I'll just walk around with the guitar all the time like Jeff what's his name? Goldberger? Goldstein? frankincense, myrrh, whatever his name was.
I don't know.
He played Murray on the freaking. He was in Daddy Daycare. He played Murray on what's the show from the 80s? You know what?
I mean, there's a few.
No, it was a new show. The Goldbergs. Goldbergs. He was
I never
Murray.
watched it.
I didn't watch
You didn't watch the Goldbergs?
No.
I don't think so.
Bro, you're missing out. That show's great. Anyways, back to the power of $1.
We're making dollars right now, starting with our YouTube Daddy Daycare.
We're making pennies at the moment, but dollars are coming.
I do think you'd be fantastic at it, for the record.
Oh, I enjoy kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I will sit there and talk with them, play with them, make funny faces. My wife gets mad at me all the time. We'll be at some restaurant eating. I'll be like, there'll be some little kid and he's popping up making faces. I'll be like, I'll start making crazy faces at him. Then all of a sudden they're like,
Kid starts crying.
no. Then all of a sudden they're like, and I start getting them. I'll be sitting there like this. I'll go, and I'll act like I'm not looking. I'll go, dude, I'll mess with them big time. I love them. Then they'll start, Mama, Daddy, yeah. And I just sit there eating, talking to my family like nothing's going on.
They're not going to say anything to you.
No, most of the time not. But the funny thing is when you do get caught, I was like, man, he's been making the funniest faces at me. So I had to start making some back. I said, your kid's great. Oh, yeah, he is great. He's the best. He's my little snookums,
Okay.
You listen, if you ever had a confrontation with somebody like at a restaurant and they, like if their kid was acting out and they thought it was your fault, I'm like, he was making these funny faces. Man, he's just adorable. And the mom's going to be like, he is. He's the most adorable thing ever.
You just like people so much more than I do. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm just talking to my wife.
Listen, I just randomly walk up and start talking to people in the middle of Target. We don't really go to Target anymore. Walmart.
I mean, I even preface sometimes with the server. If the server seems very talkative, I'll let them know, like, hey, I'm not trying to be a butthole. I'm just not going to talk to you much. I'm just letting you know that. Like, I appreciate everything you're doing.
But he is a big tipper.
Yeah, I will always tip you well, but we ain't going to talk much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not what you're
I
there
brought
for.
my wife here. I was going to talk to her.
Hey, it is funny. It seems like every time
Jen's not that way, though. She will start up a conversation with anyone at any given time. Like,
I don't have it in me.
I swear every time that I ever try to have a meeting at a restaurant, and I start really getting into the conversation, he come back, well, hey, what'd y'all like for dessertios today? Anybody looking for some desserts? No, we're good. Okay. I'll get right back into the conversation and start talking about it. All of a sudden, hey, anybody, you want some more water? How about some more Diet Coke for you over there? I'm like, I'm trying to talk, bro.
Read the room.
So I do find that weird, because I waited tables for a long time there, and I never really talked to him unless you seemed like you wanted to talk. Otherwise, you just refill the water, and like you said, you read the room.
To be fair, before I started the meeting, I was talking to him.
Yeah,
but at a point when you see us in this deep conversation, and I said, no, we're good, and you come back again, no, we're good. And I keep losing train of thought of where I was at. You know how I am. I'll bounce around the subject.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, as a server, I would tell you, be like, hey, you guys seem like you're in a pretty in-depth conversation, so I'm just going to leave you alone. Let me know if you need anything. You might have to wave me down because I don't want to keep interrupting you.
Or if the glass is empty, just fill the damn thing up.
Look at you with this freaking solution.
What do we got to ask for?
Yeah.
Hey, would you like some more water? Well, it's
hey,
empty.
you never run out of
fill it
drinks.
up.
You know where you never run out of drink? Demas's.
It's been a long time since I stepped foot in there.
You know what's weird about running out of drinks is when I was bartending and you were sitting in my bar, you never ran out of drink. But I feel like bartenders these days, I feel like you have to ask constantly to get another drink. But that was not the way that I was trained as a bartender. It was you just, if they were still sitting there, you slid them whatever they were getting.
Well, yeah, because theoretically, if they're actually going to tip you 20%, you want them to get as much on that tab as you can,
The night we came to watch when you performed down the road here that night, fantastic night.
Oh yeah, great night.
It took us 45 minutes after you left just to pay our check.
Wow,
that's such a weird thing.
It's weird. I'm like, we're sitting here trying to pay y'all. Somebody come take our money.
Man,
we're leaving.
When I was doing that job,
after 30 minutes, I'm out,
bro.
When I was doing that job, it's no, I want you out. I don't want to have to keep watching you. So if you want to leave, let's go.
Yeah. Plus, you're taking up seats. If you allow me to pay. We're in we probably had the best seats in the place.
So there's a different approach on what is the dollar worth because I watch every generation handles it a little bit different. And my dad definitely taught me how to hustle. You move. It was very much time is money, money's time, keep moving. And I look at the next generation, and I don't see in most of them the same hustle. And I question, I get that you want to have a little more laid back time. I understand not being as stressed, not being as go. But I feel like that's also going to have a price to pay on that too. If I'm going to be more relaxed at work, then it's going to take longer for me to make the same amount of money, which is going to fade over into my other life, back home, And for me, I want to make as much money in as shortest time as possible, bust it out. I don't care about taking lunch. I don't care about taking breaks. I want to do what I got to do and then be done. And now, once again, my wife functions a little different than I do. Once my butt hits the couch, unless it's like some numbers that I got to add up or a contract I got to look over or, something like that I can do either on my phone or my laptop or with a notebook, I might do something like that. But I'm not engaging more business talk after a certain point. Like my butt hits the couch, we're not getting up to like, but the same way, like after dinner. After dinner, I clean up whatever's going to get cleaned up and then I'm done. I'm not sitting down on the couch and then getting back up to wash dishes right before I go to bed. It ain't gonna happen. If I don't wash those dishes right after dinner, they're waiting until tomorrow. It's like
that there's this thing I do where it's just like, hey, everybody, wash the dish that you used.
Good luck. Kids these days.
Well, my kids are 3 and 6. Jagger's old enough to wash it. It just don't get very clean. He'll go there. And I'm like, dude, there's still ketchup on this thing. What are you talking about? But I've come to a conclusion, not a conclusion, but I have a thought on where the generation is now. And I love all the generations. I think.
Oh, absolutely. I don't mean any criticism. It's an observation.
Yeah, no, it's just observation. And there's parts of this generation. I mean, some of these kids, by the time they're 18 years old, they're making $1 million a year.
Absolutely.
Because they know how to work the internet. But here's what I'm saying.
The internets.
But when you look at it, when we were growing up, you literally had your parents telling you, when you turn 18, you're getting the hell out of my house. 18, you're out. Yeah. You're a parent, and you got kids right now, and you know that, well, if they want to live with me, they I don't know why they wouldn't just live with me. Why are they trying to get out? They can live with me until they're 25 or whatever. And I think most people now are like, hey, no, you need to stay here while you're going to college. You need to stay here while you start building up, a little bit of money and all that kind of stuff. Now, cash is going to be light years ahead of most everybody.
Well, I mean, now given to moving out when you live in Star City, Arkansas, it was a lot easier task than moving out here in Nashville.
Well, on the flip side, I feel like our generation, it not only were the parents saying that, we wanted that.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait to move out.
Yeah.
And now you've got a generation who don't ever want to leave.
Yeah.
Like they'll just.
Well, I mean, all of mine wanted out, and I can honestly say that they were all willing to take a pretty major step down to move out. But I don't know that any of them understood just how hard it was going to be.
Yeah,
and it's important to find that out.
Yeah,
as early as possible.
I think it's a great lesson for all of them.
How old were your kids when they started work?
Well, we had a rule. All of them wanted to work. We had a rule in our house that you couldn't work unless you were going to keep a B average. They all wanted to work. They all kept a B average, and they all, I think one of them didn't have a job at 16. All the rest of them did. And that one, it was just because she was so involved in athletics, she didn't physically have time.
Well, she was a world champion, right?
World champion, right.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of the complacency with some of the generations is they're not being forced to do anything with their time after post school, whether it be work or athletics or whatever it might be. So when it is time to quote unquote adult, they don't know anything about it because they've never been forced to do anything.
There's been a lot of
responsibility kind of thing.
Yeah. There's been a lot of conversation in my house about that, about them bringing up, other kids that their parents have basically given them everything, and the way I come back with it every time is like, I get that, but that kid's learning curve is way on out. That kid's going to hit their learning curve when they're in their mid-30s.
Yeah.
It's like you're going to know and understand. The best thing that I can do for you for now is to let you learn that and then continue to set myself up financially in a way that when you really need my help on the next go-around, I'll be here. Because the reality is that, your young 20s, you have all the energy in the world.
Yeah.
You have all the availability to do whatever you want to do right now. I want you to know how hard it is during that time and do whatever you got to do. Because once you grow through that and you get whatever education you're going to get or you figure out what you want to do in life, I want to be there at when you're 28, 29, 30 and you figured out what you want to do and go, yeah, I can help you
Let's
do
partner
that.
up and do something together.
Yeah, you want that business or you want this, you want that.
And now that you know exactly what you want to do and you figured out all the crap you really don't want to do that you thought you wanted to do, now let me invest with you because now I know you're going to be focused and spend the time on that. And that really makes me think of this. So many people, I mean, when we were in school, I think it's getting a little different now, but when we were in school, it was like pushed down your throat, like you have to go to college. You're a loser if you don't go to college. College is the only way to ever be anything successful. And
that worked out for a lot of people, didn't it?
Yeah.
Whole lot of people.
Talking about the value of $1.
But I look at it, I say, I have so many friends, we're 21 years out of school, going on 22, and they still got $100,000 in student debts.
Now I would say, and I've told all of my kids this,
and they're not even using their degree.
If you know what you want to do, then start educating yourself that way.
Yeah.
Do that. Now, at the same time, if you don't know, if you have no clue what you need to do, you should probably get an education because I don't know what kind of jobs you're going to get and be able to move up without a degree.
Well, so many jobs now. I mean,
belt.
this was just a big study that come out now. So many jobs now are dropping off the requirement for a bachelor's degree. So it's becoming the point where like no experience trumps all this. So if you got into the sales whatever and you start learning how to sell when you're 18 years old, when you're hungry and you got all that time. You learn it, and by the time you're 30 years old, you're like, crap, I got
right.
this
So
down.
so that's once again, if you have a drive about you to do that, then great. If you don't have much of a drive, then
different.
I still feel like you probably should go ahead and get that degree because you have no clue.
But you just have to be careful on what your degree is in because, my wife's degree is in performing arts, and that's great. She's got a bachelor's degree from from Belmont University. It's an amazing degree to have. Makes her $0.
Right.
I don't think she's ever had a job that she made any money. Now, her plan wasn't to come get a job. Her plan was to come get a record deal.
Did either one of you watch that TikTok about the education that I sent you today?
I did not have a chance to.
Dude, it fell right into exactly what we're talking about. So this guy, it's a comedian, and I don't know who the comedian is yet because it was on
somebody else's
Shapiro's
clip.
page,
right?
Yeah.
Was that it?
Yeah. And anyway, so the guy comes out and he goes, I think it's weird that we don't call college debt or college loans we don't call it what they actually are. They're small business loans. It's like, you know why we don't call them small business loans? Because no 18-year-old kid would ever be able to get a small business loan. It's like because it's a small business loan in yourself. And maybe you ain't the greatest business out there. It's like it's literally you walking and going, all right, sit down with the small business loan guy and you go, all right, so yeah, I know I'm 18, right? And I don't have any experience in anything. But hear me out, okay? I got this idea for a business. Okay, what's your idea? It's me.
Yeah.
Okay, and in this business, so the first 4 years, I'm basically just going to get blackout drunk every night, okay, for the first 4 years. But while I'm doing that, I'm going to get a degree in sociology. He was like, if that happened, he was like, any banker would be like, get the hell out of here.
Which
I'm
is
not giving you a
convenient
loan.
because I also believe in socialism.
Right. He's like, he's like, no one's giving you a loan for that. He's like, wait, I did have a plan to pay you back. I'm going to pay you $80 a month over the course of 240 years. And and it really puts it in perspective, that whole idea too, because I mean, how many kids take on that sort of debt? Now, once again, you're talking about different generations, different people and the way they see things. My brother graduated high school and college and then moved on to med school with virtually very little debt. He also worked his ass off at a job through most of this. Yeah. Once he got to med school, he had to acquire some debt, but really no debt by the till then. That different sort of mindset. And I hear constantly now people going, well, I can't work and go to college and this and that. And I was like, yeah, you can. Man, I know a whole lot of people that did it. So I don't. Well, and you can't go out. You can't necessarily have a $1,500 iPhone and do that. You can't necessarily live in an apartment, the type of apartment that you're trying to live in. You can't necessarily have a new car. You can't necessarily have a lot of the things that we've grown accustomed to.
I think that's one of the beautiful things about Tennessee, and I don't. Maybe more states are doing it, but you can go to a state community college now and get your first 2 years out of the way. You can get your associate's degree by going and doing that, and it's free. It's just like really more high school, I guess you'd say.
The only thing that you don't, once again, where we go into live to be and that kind of stuff, is it takes planning. And like you brought up, like the grants and stuff,
Yeah.
it takes planning. Like you have to look into these things, and you have to go after all these scholarships. You know,
Well,
you have to
it's not a
try.
scholarship. I mean, just community college for.
Yeah, but you still have to sign up for all the stuff.
Yeah.
And
you
that's,
got to
that's
fill. You got to fill out the information.
Yeah,
which
and
your school
people
guidance
don't.
counselor. That's what they're supposed to do. Is supposed to help you get
Well,
ready.
still,
for
there's only
that.
so much they can do. I mean, it comes down to the parents and you as a person. Like my parents were always there to support me, but most of the
Right,
things I
understand.
did,
They have
I
to-
figured it
they have-
out.
They have to
I
point
moved.
you in the right direction. They don't do it for you. You know.
Right,
They-
you have to have
yeah.
that get up and go.
Go get it. Yeah. But I just think that's great because I think about with my wife. Obviously, she wanted to go to Belmont because it was next to Berkeley and probably has surpassed Berkeley now, but it's the music college. And she goes, well, if I go to that college, I'm going to be in front of Vince Gill and I'm going to be in front of. So it's like this sell of it. I can't imagine what it costs now, 24 years later, to go to that same college. And she's still in debt paying for that 21, 22, 23 years later. She's still paying, for that college. So I can't imagine what these kids are paying now because I'm sure the prices have tripled.
Oh, I'm
Oh,
sure.
it's insane. It's insane.
I don't know. I know that our niece is going to the University of South Carolina on the pharmaceutical program that they have there, which is pretty renowned. I mean, it's astronomical, like $100,000 a year.
Man, the
Like, talk about
don't
listen.
know.
You don't get to decide you're doing something else after the first year. Okay, you got to stick to this path.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where I saw this, but I know you guys would agree because you guys all know the same people that I know. This guy gets on there, it's like on TikTok or something, and he goes, I hear about all the youth wanting to get rich fast. He was like, let me tell you how to get rich fast. Go get a degree as an electrician.
Yeah.
2-year degree. He was like, go get an electrician, become a plumber. And he starts going through all these different careers. And he was like that society has told you these are not desirable traits. He was like, and he starts naming off like company after company after company. And we know this in our field too. Like
Yeah.
all the friends that we had, that they started off that. And by the time they were 25, they had their own company. And by the time they were 30, you had 8 employees underneath them. And now you fast forward to like 40 and their company's worth 10, 20, 30, 40, $50 million.
My buddy Chris, that invests in me, that's how he started his first big amount of money. He started off as a plumber in his early 20s. Next thing you know, he grew it to having 125, people underneath him that he was training, and it was his company, and he never had to go, dig through the shit anymore, and other people did it. And he sold that whole company, and made millions of dollars and invested into other things and all this. But literally started off with him just going and learning how to be a plumber, I thought about maybe being a plumber. I'd make a good plumber. I wear overalls most of the time.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not wearing them right now.
You got a
'cause of
good
this,
gimmick. You got a good gimmick.
But yeah, I mean, like you've never had to see my butt crack. I already look like
You might get sued by the Mario Brothers, though. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'll fight those Mario Brothers. Listen, Bowser's my cousin, okay? But no, I mean, I think that trade schools now, whenever like I said, we were told you got to go to college, get on that college path. I got a lot of buddies who went to auto diesel college that are diesel mechanics now, or they learned how to weld. Some of these dudes are underwater welders now. You know how much an underwater welder makes? Now it's a dangerous job, obviously. It's that song by Garth Brooks. Well, it makes big money, man. I'm into that. But it talks about working on the high lines, on the power lines. That makes big money, but it's dangerous. Working in dynamite, TNT, it makes big money, but it's dangerous. So, and then there's the military. It doesn't make big money, and it's still dangerous. So, you have to have a desire for that. But no, I think that gets us to what is the dollar worth, and I think what we round back to that is. Every instance can be different because what I charge, for instance, when we went to Jamaica. Now, this was a work trip for us. Now, we were going out there to do stuff for charity, but also do the golf tournament. We're working for the charity. When you looked at it, it's like, man, if we went, it was just me and Jared, and we went, we would have had a good time. But the fact that our wives were able to come with us, that we were able to get that week with them, was 5 or 6 days, whatever it was. To me, that left no question of like, should I be doing this in December, everything else? Because like, there's a lot of stuff I could have done at home. I had show offers come up throughout that time because we booked this thing 6 months in advance probably. I mean, there was other shows that I was getting offered that would have made me a lot more money than I made going on this trip. But it was pivotal for me and my wife because we had never had a vacation since we had the first kid because she refused to leave the kids at the house.
Yeah.
This was the first time that my wife was like, okay, I'm going to trust my parents to take care of the kids. So for 6 straight years, this girl never went on a single trip anywhere that the kids weren't with us.
So it takes 6 years for you to get sick enough of your kids to be like, I'll chance it.
Yeah. How many licks does it take to the center? How much sickness does it take? But I mean, she and she really enjoyed it, and she come to me after we had a great time there, and he even saw me calm down, which don't happen, but
it took him. You
Couple
know
days.
how high he runs, right? Like, it took him probably about a day and a half, and then you saw the shift I have never seen in Vinny.
Yeah.
I commented to my wife, I was like, have you noticed that Vinny just calmed down considerably today?
Yeah.
And she was like, I did. No,
I think Jamaica has
all
that
of a
effect
sudden,
on you.
like, if you notice how much he moves his leg or his foot around, it's just.
Did you see him talking to any people you didn't know?
Oh yeah, that happened.
I mean, not near as much. They had to do something.
Did he pay anybody?
There were
anything?
multiple times that I saw him. I saw him a couple times, like laying out in a chair by the pool and chilling for a minute, like he wasn't moving necessarily.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa.
Well, I was in the pool.
Did you eat some gummies?
But
I got some.
But even in
From
the pool,
Stephen Cochran.
you know how fidgety he gets. Like,
Yeah.
even in the pool, like there wasn't any of that.
Well, I mean, and we just, I had my friends with me. I had my wife with me, which is the most important. But I think that's the way I would always vacation better. Like, I want to have my alone time with my wife and do that, but then I would love to have friends to meet up with and go have dinner with and do all that. And I ain't never going if it ain't all inclusive ever again.
I mean, they're
being all inclusive changes the game. I mean, like,
That's all we do.
that's
they're
I mean,
they're
yeah.
booking. They're getting ready for all that next year again. We really want you there this year because like it
we'll be
was-
there.
yeah.
It was such a. It was just a refueling time amongst just good people.
Yeah.
Because everybody that was there were just great
Yeah,
people.
we'll be there this time.
Yeah, and
Passports
I think we're
are
going to try and probably
out
do it
in-
in October, November, as opposed to December. So we're going to try and do it, where people don't, they're not getting ready for Christmas vacation and Christmas gifts and Christmas stuff.
Fall break could be a decent.
Yeah, I mean Jamaica, you definitely don't want to go in the middle of summer.
We typically run over because we hit this question spot, and I know that you're probably going to ask some. So I'd like to lead in that when we're getting down to then, what is a dollar worth?
No.
You got any questions that you want any of us to go through of like, and do we want to ask our listeners, something to comment? We want to know.
I got a good one, and this is where I was kind of getting to anyways, but when that process made sense to me to go do it. So what is your process, either one of y'all, that you go through when you are saying yes or no to something, when it comes to the money side, but also as you're considering, do I take this gig? Do I take this trip? Do I want to go pay for that dinner, and have this meeting? What's the processes you go through when you are making that decision that you are going to be away? Or if you're making the decision, like, do I want to take this leap of faith? And, because that's one of the things
Can we narrow that down a little bit? Because I don't think probably as many people have that trip.
Well, that's
side
what
of it,
I was
in
getting
your
to. Not
daily
just the
life.
trip, but even if you're going to take on a business partner, if you're going to take on a new part of your company that's going to cost you more time, any kind of time that you're giving up, what is the process you go through to make sure that is it worth your time, money wise, but also when it comes to your relationships, your family, your time. So that would be my question for y'all: is what is the process you go through when you're making that decision?
I'd like to hear Jeff first because I think that the daily side of it is newer to me because I am very trip based, but I think that you've had a successful company right here that you have to decide when are you leaving work, when are you going into work, and what your children are doing and where am I going to be.
I think I try to look at my family life first, right? So I'll use the past couple of days as an example. I've known Autumn was going to be out of town, so I'd have the kids. So I'd have to figure that part out before and after school. And then I've known I'm going out of town myself bright and early Friday morning. So when I look at what has to be done professionally, you've got to figure out where to lose sleep because that stuff has to be done.
Yeah.
Right? It's not a question of if, it's when. So for me, I try to cram, like you were saying, how much can I get done as fast as possible? And then I've got to know, all right, I'm going to have to spend time with Emma and Addie, do dinner, do bedtime, whatever that looks like. And then when they go to sleep, it's right back to work.
Yeah.
For however long until I know I'm setting myself up for success.
So no
the
binge
following
watching
day.
Netflix,
There are times where that happens too.
but not when you're in that busy mode.
When I'm in that busy mode, generally speaking, when I shut it down, my mind is still running, so I will have to Netflix something. I can't just shut down working.
Same way.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Can't happen. So I don't know that there's necessarily a process, but my mind is always going to be family first.
Yeah,
How's
I mean,
this
that's
going to affect time with my family, and what do I got to do to make sure it doesn't?
right. I think that's great.
And that's why I include. I mean, one of my kids is here right now watching us do this.
Hey, good to see you over there.
You know, so and my wife is with me most of the time too, and whatever I do, if the time permits.
Yeah.
So that's how I try to circumvent. You know, does it make sense? Well, if my wife can attend, then yeah, it makes more sense because
Right.
I'm not losing time with her. So that's kind of my process. I think is just how's it going to affect my life with family.
And so let me ask you this, because I think this is a big one for most people. Do you ever get scared of those? Do you realize that? Do you think about the fact of, like, especially when money isn't coming in the way that you maybe used to it being? Do you get afraid that you're not spending as much time at work, or, you know, just keeping that faith during that time period, going, oh, no, I did work enough. I'm not going to keep working just because the money's not there right now. I have faith that I did what I was supposed to do. The money will come.
Yeah, I do think there's such thing as complacency when things are really good. I suffered from it. I feel like I hit a stride of my life to where I felt like I'd just wake up the next day and make money. Right? So I feel like I did get, I don't want to say lazy. I've never been lazy, but a little complacent to where I wasn't doing everything I could be doing.
The grind slowed down a little bit.
Yeah.
Grit,
right?
grind, gratitude.
Yeah, my grit and my grind slowed
Grungy.
down a little bit. It just a little, it sounds terrible to say, but just felt like I could wake up and make money.
Mm-hmm.
And I have now realized I was dead wrong. I'm not that special.
But on the flip
Right.
side, do you have that spot where, like, if you go, hey, I'm going to work this many hours and then I'm going to be with my family. Do you get to the end of those hours and then go, I don't know, maybe I need to keep working because I'm still not seeing that money? Or do you go, nope, this is what I committed to, and now I'm moving on with my family?
Yeah, I think internally you know if you've done enough that day. And there's not an hours to that for me.
Right.
You could work 2 hours in one day and know you've done enough, in my opinion. So I think internally your conscience knows if you've done enough, and if your conscience is saying you haven't, you probably haven't. But so my answer would be, if I can confidently lay down that night and say you slayed today, hours aside, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. And then there's days where you look back at it and you're like, damn, what the hell did I do today? I was at work, I worked, but what did I truly accomplish today?
Yeah. Well,
and that's where you can really start looking at the value of a dollar. What's a dollar worth? Like, if you do an evaluation of your hours, what did you do with your hours? You're probably losing a lot of money. How much time did we spend on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok?
Yeah. You know where that really plays into place for me, and I was talking to him about it today. Like today, I was able to. I was closing today, so I was making things happen. Still have a few things that are not closed yet, but got a couple things closed. On the days that I take 50 phone calls and send out emails and answer emails and then wait for other people to respond, because I'll get up, you know, I'll go train my client at 5 o'clock, and by 5:30, 5:45, he's ready to be done. And sometimes I'll finish up my workout or whatever. But then I start sending out my emails and doing stuff, and then I'm just playing the waiting game. And I'm in the music industry. A lot of these people don't even get up till 11 o'clock, you know. So I'm like sitting here, it's like, okay, I've been going since 4:30 this morning. I've got all these emails sent. I'm waiting on everybody to reply to me, and then why they not replied? It's 9:35. Well, these boys don't. But on the days that I close stuff, I feel like, dude, what a great day. But on the day that it's like the tedious, I send all this stuff, and it's like, I don't even know if any of this is going to work out. But that's the nature of our business, and we've talked about that. And, you know, for me, I always have that at the end of the year or at the end of the busy season. You know, we get to the end of October, November, and sometimes we'll have one or two shows in November, December. But for the most part, December, halfway through December until March is usually pretty dead. You know, we don't have a whole lot of shows and things to go do because all the South is kind of, you know, the only open parts are either like Arizona or Florida or whatever places that it's not going to snow or, you know, any of that kind of stuff. Anything up north kind of closes off because it's, you know, you could have tons of snow, which we had some good snow here this year. But I hit that place where I'm like, dude, I don't know. Are we going to get shows next year? Are people still going to want us to come play music for them? You think we'll be able to lock in X amount of dollars worth of dates? And then if we do lock in that much dollars worth of dates, how much of it's profit versus how much of it's going to pay travel? How much is the band going to want to make next year compared to this year? Because the price of touring continues to go up. The
Yeah.
prices that everybody wants to go, especially with Nashville now. Used to in Nashville, there was, 4 or 5 honky tonks that were, playing music on a nightly basis. And that was pretty much it. Now there's 25, 30 honky tonks, and they all have 3 or 4 floors, and they have a rooftop, and there's a band on every single floor and every single rooftop, or acoustic people playing. And a lot of the band members, and we're dealing with this now, like they can make $1,500 for the week staying in town. And they don't have the same goals and desire you have, because you're trying to grow a brand that's going to be huge, but it's your brand.
Yeah.
So that drummer's sitting there saying, well, why would I go with you and make the same, or less money than I could make sitting right here at the house, and I'll be home every night eating my top ramen and watching my Netflix, whatever. You can do that on the road now too. But I'm just saying, it's like, it's just funny. Like I always have that little bit of, I don't know if it's fear of missing out or the thought process, like, okay, now I've been blessed to add some things into my life that make me money outside of my music, which has slowed that way down. Because used to, I'd be like, dude, I got to take every show I can. That one's only going to make $200, or that one's going to make $3,000. That one's going to make this. So I've been able to slow that down because of other streams of income that are coming in. I'm now able to say, okay, I don't have to take every single show, But used to, I would have that thought process of like, it doesn't matter if you want to take that show. That's the only way that you're going to make your money. And you got a family to feed, and you got a wife that is depending on you, and you got a house payment, and you got a car payment, and she's got a car payment, all this other stuff. So, it's a different way now, but that's still in me some. I still wonder, like, are we going to get that every single year? Jared has kind of come to a point now where his business is
taking a lot of years to get that mindset that you're about to
take on, though. But he's gotten to a process where he's comfortable knowing, like, hey, I'm always going to use my talents. Because at the end of the day, I mean, at my heart of it, like, I just want to go sing every day. I don't want to work TikTok and Instagram, but that's part of the business now. I don't want to negotiate deals and be the booking agent and be the manager and be all this other stuff. I just want to get on stage and sing my songs. But I'm at a part in my career, I was started off with, after 2 years of being here, all of a sudden I had all those people around me doing all that for me. And so I just had to show up and go play. I got on the tour bus and I was like, all right, you're going to this radio station, and you're going to play here tonight. And that's what I did. And I love that. That feeling's great. But Jared has gotten to the point now where he's built this other company up where it's starting to do well enough that he can say, I ain't going to chase the shows that I don't want to do anymore. I'm going to take the stuff, and not even just stuff that makes him money, but it's stuff that is going to be for the better good of humanity, meaning we're going to raise money for charity while we're there, stuff like that. But you can talk on that.
It's more of, I'm just not willing to chase it all. I'm willing to work, and I've always been driven, and I'll always be driven. But I'm not willing to chase. I'm not willing to try to figure out how to put a square peg in a round hole either. And it's more of a, I mean, like, we've talked about like we've got a lot of money tied up in a couple properties right now, and typically I'm the one at the house that's stressed about money and thinking about what's going to happen. And Jen and I were having this discussion not long ago, and she was like, "How are you not freaking out right now? How much money we have out of our account and over here?" And I was like, because at 44, God has always, as long as I'm waking up answering to Him first and putting Him first, He has always shown me. And no matter how much stress I put into my days, no matter how much extra work I've tried to put in above and beyond, it didn't pay off. It didn't change anything. And God always shows up at the end.
Yeah.
And she was like, you realize what the account looks like right now? And I was like, yeah. And that's been like trying to understand, all right, God, if I need to be stepping up, I need you to let me know, because I'm really just giving to you. And it was like maybe 3 days later, she goes, hey, so my client just, we got a buyer on this house, and so that house is going to be sold, and, this is how much I'm making off of that. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Sat there for a minute, phone call comes in, and they're like, hey, you got this gig over here, and this is how much is coming in off of it.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything. Well, that's not true. That gig that came in, I literally was sitting there right after she talked to me about the finances. I thought, man, I don't know if I'll ever get one of those gigs again. And I thought about the guy that would book me on those, and I called him. I was like, hey, man, I just want to thank you for all these experiences that you've given me over the years. I realize you're probably looking at either more famous people or younger people to do this particular gig, but I just wanted to thank you for all the time.
Yeah.
And just, I was totally humbled by the fact that, man, look at all the great blessings that this man has brought me in my life. And that was it. 2 days later, he called me up with the same opportunity. And so it was like, boom, it just works out. And like, and I don't I don't want to be arrogant about it. I always want to get up and work hard. But I also want to know that it's not me that's making it happen. I'm getting up and showing up and putting in the time, the effort, and the talent. But it's still God at the end of the day for me.
Yeah.
He's the one that's actually making it happen. You know?
Yeah, I think that's all. I think that's a great point. It's all God's. I mean, it's His time, it's His money, it's His.
Yeah.
He's the
But
one.
you got to put in the work because I don't know where He's going to bring it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be through a house. I don't know if it's going to be through a new artist. I don't know if it's going to be through a gig. I don't know what opportunity. So I got to get up. You got to get up, show up, and work. You know, what I mean, that's one of the reasons that I love watching anything that Mark Wahlberg talks about.
Yeah,
because he just gets up every day and puts in the time, the energy, and then motivates.
And he always starts with God and family.
Absolutely.
You know? Well, he starts at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, something like that with God, then a workout, and then his family's still asleep.
Yeah, I haven't figured out how to get on those hours.
Yeah, I can't do that.
I'm
yet.
doing good enough to be with God by 7.
Hey, sometimes you just have to admit, like, he's better than me. There's just all there is to it. But that'll bring me.
Like sometimes you go, well, he is worth that much money for a reason.
Yeah.
Clearly, he's just doing it better than me.
But that I can bring me to a good closing point here is, you know, whenever we are coming up with these things, obviously we're looking at our family. We're making sure we've turned down some big opportunities before that wasn't going to glorify God and was going to be, you know, against our faith, against our religion. We have to be willing to do that. So I do take those things into account. And then my final thing, and just going through the process, you know, obviously I look at the money, you know, and all that. Like I said, family first, how much time I'm going to be away, all this. But I also look at what could this lead to. You know, so the opportunity, like in Vegas when I went out to the RiskOn Festival, I didn't know what all was going to lead to. Obviously, I knew I was going to be around some awesome people, and it's led now to people coming to the resort. They're utilizing our stage. You know, they're renting the cabins and the lodge and the grounds at my resort, and then they're renting our stage where we're going to go and do production. We're going to perform for them. It's led to those things. Now it's led to potential other business partners and things like that. So even though that gig, after all was said and done, I made no money on it because I had to go to Vegas. You're there. You stay in Vegas for 2 or 3 days. You ain't gonna make. By the time you pay for food, you ain't making nothing. You know. But that gig, even though it wasn't making the kind of money I would need to be gone for 3 or 4 days, 5 days, whatever it was I was gone, I knew that it had the potential to lead me to bigger things, and the blessing that God put on my plate there, like he was saying, sometimes you just go in faith and like, hey, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And, that blessing has been huge in my life. And I can tell y'all more about that. I don't want to put that on here yet. We'll do that whenever the stuff comes out. But there's some cool things going on behind the scenes that, could be huge, could be life-changing for me, but also for my family, but also for y'all. So let's stay tuned on that. Hey. I ain't going to tell you what it is right now, so you're going to be left wondering, but one of these days you'll get to hear if it works out. When it works out.
You think what?
I think he's transitioning.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm no longer going to be a power lifter. I'm gonna go full-on bodybuilder.
He's so quick.
I'm going to lose this, get these bigger. Not that they can get much bigger, but, or I guess more cut.
And on that note,
what is $1 worth to you? I want you to contemplate this. Maybe you can ask us some questions. Send us in your comments, your likes, your shares, 5 stars. Just do all that stuff. Tell all your friends. Tell your mom's friends. Tell your mom's friends that you know about your mom's friends. Tell them too. Anyways, with that being said, what's $1 worth? Don't go down Dickerson Pike. You'll find out. Peace out.